It's information that bounces off the eyes, and we've never seen the outside world directly because it doesn't really exist. Quantum mechanics has been going on for nearly a century now. Quantum mechanics insists that that which is not measurable and that which is not observable is only existing as a probability wave. That means it's not rendered into what we describe as matter, but only exists as a probability wave. That's like saying that, for instance, at the other side of the blue sky, there is no universe, there are no stars, there are no galaxies. That's only fantasy, because only that which is observed directly or measured directly actually is rendered. In other words, because we are not, during the day, we are not observing the vastness of the universe that we assume to be. Realize that this is a false assumption, that at the other side of the blue sky there is no universe, even though in Australia at this time of the day they are at night and they can see the universe from their frame of reference in Australia, for instance. The vastness of the Milky Way galaxy and other galaxies is real. Well, it's real only in the same measure as they observe it. That means you don't need to have a giant star or a giant galaxy. It's only the same size as the Australians are observing it right now. But from my frame of reference, that universe doesn't exist other than as a probability wave. It's not rendered. Like in a video game, only that which is observed by the player becomes rendered and the rest of it remains software. So probability wave in quantum mechanics is analogous to the software of the video games. So you can see that this is another strong argument that is telling us that there is no external reality, but there is only mind, because only what it is observed or measured by mind, it becomes rendered. Now, relativity also goes hand in hand with quantum mechanics here, because relativity insists that each frame of reference is a unique universe, and quantum mechanics is saying that every frame of reference is a unique universe because that is what rendering means. Rendering requires a frame of reference, so that means every frame of reference is a unique universe, which is exactly the same as relativity. So we have really incompetent scientists today still insisting that relativity and quantum mechanics cannot be reconciled because relativity refers to the macro world of stars and galaxies, objects that can be perceived directly, while quantum mechanics refers only to the world of the very small subatomic particles, etc. But this is absolutely rubbish. Relativity and quantum mechanics are two sides of the same coin. It's actually the same thing. It is the realization, the amazing discovery that every single frame of reference, in other words, every single mind, is a universe in itself, is a slice, is an infinite-sized slice in a block universe. The rest of the block universe only exists as a probability wave. This is important. So from my frame of reference, the rest of the block universe, that includes all the past and all the future, is only a probability wave. Even though for someone else who is dwelling in my past, that past is his present and is very real, and it's me who is a probability wave. So from the frame of reference of other people or other objects, I am a probability wave, while from my frame of reference they are probability waves, because I only exist in my own slice of the universe as a frame of reference. So yeah, relativity in quantum mechanics is actually the same. So this is why all frames of reference are valid simultaneously. All inertial frames of reference are valid simultaneously. What does inertial means? Inertial means that is not accelerating. So a frame of reference that is accelerating is less valid. That means that frame of reference that is accelerating observes can be contradicted by a frame of reference that is accelerating less. or is not accelerating relative to that one which is accelerating. So the more a frame of reference accelerates, the less true it is what that frame of reference is observing or is measuring. Because if a frame of reference, for instance an astronaut, is taken into a rocket and put at half the speed of light for a year, after that 1 year he will be returning to an Earth that is 100 years into the future. That would be false to say for the astronaut, because the astronaut has been accelerating, not the Earth. The Earth has barely been accelerating relative to the astronaut. The astronaut is been at nearly the speed of light for some time, so he's been a very high acceleration. That means that that which the astronaut is observing, in other words, a future Earth, is not true, because the Earth has not been accelerating. The Earth is more valid than the frame of reference that is been accelerating. That means that those of us inhabitants of the Earth, we would see the astronaut not going into the future, but we would see the astronaut coming from our past, returning from our past. 100 years later, humanity would observe the same astronaut coming back to the Earth, and the astronaut didn't get old at all. Only a year passed by him. So who is right? Is right the astronaut who says that he's arriving to the future, or is the inhabitants of the Earth saying that it's the astronaut who comes from the past? Well, it's the latter. The correct one is the inhabitants of the Earth saying that it's the astronaut coming from the past, because the inhabitants of the Earth didn't accelerate relative to the astronaut. They have been inertial. So this is what Einstein discovered, that all inertial frames of reference are equally valid. Now this takes us to an amazing realization, and is the fact that light, photons of light or waves of light, travel at constant speed. That means that they are 100% inertial. That means that light never suffers any sort of acceleration. Light cannot be accelerated. It's one of the main laws of physics. You cannot push light to go faster than the speed of light. Therefore, light is the most inertial of all frame of reference. That means that which is witnessed from within light is the most true of all the possible truths. No frame of reference outside of light can possibly contradict that which is observed from within the light, because light is the most inertial of all frames of reference. That which is observed from within the light can never be invalidated. It's the highest possible hierarchy of truths. And this nicely links and reminds me of a quote by Jesus, where he says, "I am the truth, I am the light, I am the path, I am the only way." Jesus is mentioning light and truth and the path. And this is what Einstein discovered. That light is the only path to the truth. That which is observed from within light is the highest of all truths. And it cannot be denied by any other frame of reference, including our frame of reference on Earth. That means that what we are observing from this Earth, moving at nearly 10 meters per second square of acceleration, is so untrue, is so fake compared to that which is observed from within the realm of light. Jesus saying that he is the light, that means that he is the truth, because how could he possibly know that that which is within the light is synonymous of truth and is the only possible path towards absolute truth rather than relative truth? This is an amazing realization. We are able to hold on to this and remember this every second of our lives. Light is constant. That means it suffers no acceleration. Therefore, going back to the possibility of existence of an outer physical solid reality is really not possible, because from the frame of reference of light, we know, thanks to quantum mechanics, that there is no physical, and thanks to relativity, there is no physical reality from the frame of reference of light. From the frames of reference of light, all that exists is a superposition of non-rendered possible realities that exist as probability waves. And these alternative histories or parallel universes, even though they don't exist in a rendered way until the moment when they are observed or measured by a mind, they do exist in a quantum state or probability wave state simultaneously. So all possible histories from the frame of reference of light, which is the only true, genuine, absolute frame of reference, there is no physicality and there is no single history, but there is an infinite network of alternative parallel universes that exist in a non-render fashion, only like software, until the time when a mind happens to observe that multiverse or block universe. When a mind happens to observe it, then one single of these realities will become rendered for each specific frame of reference that is observing it. And each specific frame of reference will be the owner of a single slice of this infinity, an infinite mess of parallel universes. It's a bit like a hologram in the sense that a hologram only exists when a mind is involved. Otherwise, a hologram is only a two-dimensional surface. But the illusion of the hologram as a 3D projection only exists when a mind or an observer or some kind of measurement can be involved. So this is very much like the universe that we experience. The reality that we experience is, in this sense, more like a hologram. It needs a mind. And a mind that is not inventing it from scratch, but observing something that pre-exists in the form of a quantum state of probability waves, non-rendered realities. This is the second reason that I'm giving to argue that actually mind is all there is and there is no outer external reality. The first reason was my understanding of solipsism, which I redefined. The second reason was my understanding of how quantum mechanics and relativity come together and intertwine together to give us the understanding that reality is more like a hologram. And the third reason is that basically everything that we've ever experienced, either night dreams or waking experience. Night dreams we know are made by the mind, but for some reason we falsely assume that a waking reality is not made by the mind.